Egg, a quite astonishing commodity, the cause of your desire. Egg, which fills the inner void. Egg.
Eggs are pretty epic, but you know what's more epic? Paying for them with crypto. Borrow, earn, and now pay with Moonwell.
What's up, everybody? Tristan Thompson here, another episode of Courtside Crypto. Today's a very special episode that I was really excited to get into. We have Mr. Luke, the best last name in the game, Youngblood. And I got my main man here, C. Will, as well. Appreciate having you guys, fellas.
It's great to be here, Tristan. Thank you for having us.
Of course. C. Will, what's up, man?
Hey, man, feeling good. Happy to be here with y'all.
Listen, heard a lot about you, what you're doing in your podcast, and we were chatting earlier while we were having some espresso martinis, and we kind of thinking the same way, the journey and the path in terms of what we are trying to do in the space, something that we feel like is an untapped market, and I think this is a good stepstone to get this going. So, but Lou, we put you in the hot seat first. Tell us about you, Mr. Youngblood. Tell us about it, how you got here. Give us a little background of like your journey to get to this point with Moonwell. It's one of my most used apps in the crypto space, I'll tell you that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'd love to tell you guys how I've came to this space. First of all, I've been working in tech for many decades as a software engineer, kind of worked at Coinbase for a few years, helped them launch ETH staking. But what really drew me to found Moonwell and kind of launch Moonwell was I was early user to DeFi, using all these on-chain apps like Compound and Uniswap, and kind of learning the ways of how to do yield farming, how to kind of grow my net worth using these powerful financial tools. The problem was all these tools are really hard to use, as you know, from having dabbled with them yourself, right?
Listen, we've used a couple labs where we try to do the compounding and the self-ranging stuff, and it's been tough. I think for anyone if you're not really deep in space and have that experience and you're trying to just get into it, and like we said, DeFi is, I think, the easiest thing for our community, for like we say, the normies, right, to understand. And, if you don't have the right tools or just understand, might mess up and potentially put yourself in a bad position.
Yeah, 100%. And so when I was at Coinbase, a lot of my friends and I, during COVID, we were actually just using early DeFi apps like Compound and Uniswap and others. And we were just kind of experimenting with these apps. And we realized that these are powerful financial tools, but they were only accessible to software engineers and nerds like us, right? That had a desktop computer, had MetaMask, a Ledger wallet, were online 24/7. But really, I wanted to bring DeFi to everyone in the world because I saw the opportunity for people to improve their lives, improve their financial outcomes, to kind of avoid the banking system that has really high fees. And so I left Coinbase in early 22 to launch Moonwell. And the whole idea we had was the vision we kind of coalesced around was a world where finance and governance was on-chain and completely decentralized. People could have self-custody of their funds. And we wanted to bring powerful financial tools to everyone in the world, no matter where you lived or what your ability level was. And that meant we have to build mobile apps, make it really user-friendly for people. We had to translate it into languages like Spanish, Portuguese. 40% of people in Brazil don't even have a bank account. And people in Argentina, for example, have really high inflation. People in Nigeria also have really high inflation. And we had this vision of bringing these powerful financial tools to everyone in the world. And we're just starting to, 2.5 years, almost 3 years in, we're starting to be able to see that we can fulfill that mission, that vision. And what brought me to Coinbase in the early days was really the mission of Coinbase is to increase economic freedom in the world. And so you can look at, I remember being in these all hands meetings with Brian Armstrong, and he would show slides on the screen of look at North Korea and South Korea. And you can just see from a satellite view, South Korea is lit up like a Christmas tree and North Korea is dark. And so you can just see what economic freedom and has brought to the South Korean people in terms of prosperity versus the North Korean people right across the border, right? And all over the world, you can see examples of this. Countries that have high economic freedom, that have good banking services, good financial services, have, an electric grid that works. They have local services that work. But when you look at countries that don't, it's the opposite story. And so that's Coinbase's mission. That's what really drew me to Coinbase in the first place. And then I wanted to build that for the on-chain kind of DeFi user and make it accessible to everyone in the world. That's kind of the goal of and the vision and mission of Moonwell.
And I think that what the mission and the DNA of Moonwell is kind of the vision and DNA of this podcast. I think, for me, it's giving the people the tools to get in the DeFi space, but also just make it normal and it's easy to get on, especially when it's easy on chain. And I think that's something that I see Moonwell's DNA is, and I think that's why it was very important for you to be on this episode, this podcast, because I feel like what you're trying to do is for the masses, and that's what this podcast is about, is getting the masses into the Web3 space, getting DeFi, understanding it, because the world is changing. And I think I've been saying this from day one, is that the world's changing, and it's on us, people that are in charge, to help give people those tools so they can put themselves in position, like you said, and listen, we're not saying we're the biggest institutions and we're giving you guys the best, we're going to give you the tools. We're not telling you what to do. We're going to give you the tools for at the end of the day so you can be in charge. And I think the problem with these centralized banks is that they want to control everything, right? If they're not making a cut or getting a percentage, they don't want no parts of it, right? So, and I think we're trying to change that narrative, and that's kind of the narrative what this world is going towards, and we want to put people ahead of that, whether it's in America, whether it's in South America, even Africa or India, right? All those people, we got to help give people a chance to get back to financial freedom financially.
100%. And this is a big part of our mission, because it's only been in recent years that things like stablecoins have become a thing. Like now there's stablecoin and payment infrastructure. And we're just getting to the point where we can now, in the early 2025, we can now offer a U.S. bank account to anyone in the world, almost anyone outside of a sanctioned country like Venezuela or Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Russia. And that's a really powerful thing, because I've met with you a lot, and you and your friends, and I've talked to you, and I know you came from humble upbringings in little Jamaica in Toronto, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that you came from a Jamaican immigrant family, and I think everyone that has come to America, and my ancestors came many generations ago, but people that have come recently, or even people that live anywhere in the world, it's the American dream to kind of come to America, to make a salary, to work for an American company and improve the life of your family, right? That's why so many hardworking immigrants and global talent wants to come here. And I thought about this, really deeply, because in the Moonwell community, we have a lot of contributors that live in Brazil. We have 3 devs in Brazil. We have, a community manager in Australia. And the only way we can pay them is in stablecoins, because we have a crypto foundation that can pay them in stablecoins. But most US companies cannot pay foreign workers. And we actually had to hire someone in Canada for Lunar Labs, my company. It's a US company. And it was really hard to hire them. We had to use this service called remote.com. We had to basically pay twice their salary, because we had to kind of hire a subcontractor that was in Canada that could pay their payroll, their medical, dental, and benefits. And it was really expensive, and it wasn't really worth it. And so if I think about American companies, they really want to tap into this global pool of talent, wherever it is. There are smart people in Nigeria. There are smart people in Jamaica. There are smart people in Africa, South America, Asia, everywhere in the world. There are smart people that want to do remote work. And if I think about what if I could give them a bank account in the US, so now they can get direct deposit from a US company. They can get a job working for a US company as a contractor or an employee. They can get paid in direct deposit. And then our partner Bridge will convert that into stable coins and put it in their self-custodial wallet. Because everyone in these countries, like Argentina, where the peso is, inflating, they want to hold stable coins. They want to hold US dollars. They don't want to hold Argentinian pesos. And so with that, combined with the Moonwell Visa debit card, which just launched last month, or a couple of
Mind
weeks
you,
ago.
it's one of my, listen, that's the card that gets used the most on my phone. And listen, they tap to pay. Listen, if everyone looks right here on the camera, you see the Moonwell card right there. Right there. I use it for everything, whether I'm getting a haircut, getting some food, if I'm stepping out for some nightlife activities, my Moonwell card is being used. Tap to pay.
I love it. Yeah, I use mine too all the time.
All the time.
So what we've recently built, and maybe the audience doesn't know about this, we want to build this entire payroll to payments system for anyone in the developing world to get a job working remotely for a U.S. company. And if you think about all the work that can be done remotely these days, whether it's like a tech job, like a software developer, or even not a tech job, but like someone pushing spreadsheets at an office, or a nurse that's checking prescriptions in a hospital system, to make sure the doctors didn't make a mistake. All these jobs can be done remotely by really smart people in places like Argentina, Nigeria, Brazil, parts of Asia. And these people would love to work for American companies. but they just can't because they're not able to be paid. And so we'll be able to have this kind of complete, payroll to payment system where you can get paid in stablecoins. Anytime a wire or an ACH hits your bank account, it gets converted into stablecoins in your wallet. Those stablecoins are automatically deposited into a Moonwell vault, so they're yield bearing now. So you have Moonwell USDC or MWUSDC. We can talk more about that. And then as you make payments on the card, you go out and shop, you pay your bills, you buy groceries, your card auto reloads from the vault. So we've kind of created this really beautiful system for everyone in the world that isn't fortunate enough to live in America.
Yeah. Well, I think even bigger than that. I think it's more so when you mention these foreign countries, right? And me coming from a foreign descent, Jamaica, it's more of being able to send money. The traditional way. It's Western Union or MoneyGram, right? Like those places. First of all, I remember like sending money to my family members in Jamaica, and literally when they leave Western Union, they get robbed. Like that, just like that, how dangerous it is. Like that's how, and it's really like that. Like people really sit outside of these convenience stores and these corner stores in these foreign countries, and they literally wait for people because when you're going to Western Union, people are knowing when you're in there for a long time, you have the paperwork, you're filling it out. You don't even know if the guy that's working there cleaning the floors is telling his homeboy in the back they're about to walk up with some cash, come get him. Like that happens to people all the time. And I think with this, what you guys are trying to do at Moonwell is like, let's just give everyone an equal opportunity, whether it's being paid in the U.S. and be able to create a living or a job, but also family members that are in the U.S. or in Canada or North America that have this, being able to onboard them and taking care of them without putting them at risk of getting robbed, killed, or something bad happen to them. And like, cause that's a real life story that happens to many of my friends. Cause a lot of my friends, I'm first generation Canadian, but my parents are from Jamaica, and in Canada it's a melting pot. Everyone. If you're under the age of 40. You're probably first generation Canadian, your parents are all foreigners, right? So like we all go through these situations. And I think what you guys are trying to build at Moonwell is something to basically take away that void and like be able to connect. Like you said, so volatile with the currencies and all that. Like this is huge.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, imagine if you have a US bank account, now you can get Venmo or PayPal. Mm-hmm. And so if instead of sending money to Western Union and paying 6 to 10%, mm-hmm. imagine if you could send money to them with Venmo for free to your relatives in Jamaica. That would be pretty powerful, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think that can happen, and it's actually becoming a reality with stablecoin payments. I mean, we're really excited about this. I was just talking to you, Will, just last week about what's coming in the Moonwell community with the U.S. bank accounts that will be available to anyone in the world. And then, what we've already launched with the Visa card. But yeah, I think, you've been in the on-chain finance and the Web3 space for a little while, though. I would love to hear what you think about this. Do you think this is going to resonate with people?
Game changer. I think it's a game changer. And like as someone that travels here and there, go to different countries, always had a issue with transferring the money over, right? You got to call your bank account, let them know you're out the country. Kind of dealt with that today, just traveling here. Had to let them know that my credit card is being used. So with a Moonwell card, you can go over into whatever country that accepts Visa and just use it, right? Load your account up. And I tell my friends who are not in crypto all the time, like your bank account, a yield that you're earning on your bank account versus a Moonwell platform is way different. Like DeFi in general is where the opportunity is at, especially like we talked about this earlier, the new generation under 40, we're used to using the internet. We're used to paying with our Apple Pay. We're used to using our phones for everything. And I think this is, the future, and we in it right now, just the early pioneers, because this thing has a lot more growing to do. And I do a lot of interviews, and I talk to people out in Nigeria pretty often, and in Asia, and they're tapping into the US dollar, as you said, and then the USDC to me is the best opportunity to get the dollar, keep it digital, right on your phone. So I'm with it.
Yeah, 100%. And, I talk about how like this doesn't necessarily mean we don't need banks anymore, right? Banks are still in the background. When you actually sign up for the US bank account, there is a partner bank in the United States that issues that account, and there's a KYC process. It takes a few minutes. But and there's also a different partner bank in Hong Kong that issues the Visa debit card, right? But the thing is, the nice thing about using stablecoin payment rails versus a traditional bank where, go to the branch and open the account.
That's, by the way, it's the fucking worst. It's the worst. Listen, man, when you go in there, I've never in my life have to, first of all, it's my money.
Yeah.
I'm going in there and I
Facts.
want to take my money out. And you're going to ask what I'm going to do with it. My mother, God rest her soul, has never asked what I'm doing with my own money. So who are you as a stranger telling me what am I doing with my money? And then the worst is like when you have to call the 1-800. I'm like, the worst is like, I'll give you guys an experience. A time when I was a rookie and I went back to Toronto and, I'm a rookie and this is the first time making a lot of money. So I go to the club with me and my boys and we order a bunch of Ace of Spades bottles, and Ace of Spades, a very high, big old champagne, one of the top shelf ones. And, it cost a pretty penny. So, cause I'm young and I want to put on a show for me and my friends. I'm 19 in the club. In Canada,
Canada's
19.
different.
Yeah, Canada's 19 drinking age. So you guys don't know, don't think I'm underage drinking. So, but anyways, we're in the club and I'm ordering I ordered like about 10 to 12 bottles of Ace of Spades. And what we did was like, we took it comes in a case, we stacked the cases on top of the table. So it's like it's almost like the Leaning Tower of Pisa of how many stacks of cases for the bottles. So the night's ending now. It's around 2:30 and it's time for pay with your card. So I bring my Amex out, give it to them. I go to the back, they come back, they say, sir, there's a problem. So what's wrong? I said, the money good. Money's good. I know the money's good for sure. I get paid the 1st and the 15th. And one thing about the NBA, they pay on time, which is good about that business. But no, so they said the card's not working. You have to call in. So I call now. And one thing about calling these credit card companies, you call someone at 2:30. I've been drinking, so I'm a little frustrated. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I'm ready to go home. So I call. It takes 15 minutes. So now I'm feeling a little embarrassed now because, the worst thing you want to do is like people look like, your car's declining. My ego starts to kick in. Because I'm like, I worked this hard. I'm rebounding, setting hard screens. My money's good, but I need my money now so I can pay for this. So I'm literally on the phone for 30 minutes. They're asking me security questions. They're asking me about my social security number. They're asking about what car did I buy my first year because you have the security question. I'm like, that's too much work for something that like literally my good old Moonwell, tap, I'm good. I used it. Used it. Went out, tapped, was in Chicago, used it, tap, was good. So like situations like that's the frustrating part, especially because the fact that it's like they have all these rules and regulations to just essentially, if you could prove your social security number or on the question, like it shouldn't take this long. It's the whole calling in customer service. It's not really customer service. It's customer headache, I should call it. Yeah. And that's the part that's frustrating, but that's the part that motivates me so much in the Web3 space because everything can be instant, right? Like, you in Nigeria and you call your family, you're like, hey, I'm gonna send you something right now. Or we're here. You're like, yo, T, I see a shirt in Nigeria. I know you wanted it. All right. Send me your wallet. Bam, you get it right away. Pick it up for me, right?
Well, I have a similar experience, but it was like I do coaching sometime with new people. So I'm coaching a guy actually out of Toronto, and then it was time to do the pay, and then I'm like, just send me USDC, and then he didn't catch the lesson. He was like, no, let's do wire. That's where he felt more comfortable. And then the money took forever. Same day, a lot of questions. I'm waiting for 5 days, and I'm like, "What do we do this call about?"
Like
you're
like a 30-minute hour call. It turned to a 5-day wire. Like it's crazy. And then they give you the Swift code, and every country's different. So in Canada they do like a Swift code. So in America they just do account number, routing number, or ACH.
That was the issue.
But in Canada, you have like the Swift code and and you're like, and mind you, some of the bankers don't understand like the international wires. Like more of these bankers, these bankers, you guys practice that. How do you guys not know which country? And that's where the headache comes in, right? And you're like, all this work, you're like, it's not even worth it at this point, And no disrespect to the client, but it's just like, it's too much of a hassle, bro. Get a wallet.
Yeah,
easy.
100%. So, and here's where this becomes a huge quality of life improvement for people that are using Moonwell in these remote countries. They're getting paid to work for an American company, or maybe they're doing contracting work for an American company, or they're selling goods on Etsy or eBay or something to people in America. First of all, they have 24/7 access to payments, and anytime they receive a wire transfer, it shows up in their stablecoin wallet, or in their wallet as a stablecoin in like minutes, like 30 minutes or less. Wow. And then it's automatically deposited into the vault, earning yield. And then when they shop, their card is auto reloaded. So it's 24/7. It's not banker hours. They don't have to go down to the branch between the hours of like 9 to 5 p.m. And then they have way too many holidays. So like, you go on some weird day, like, Good Monday or something like that. And they're like, oh, the bank's closed. Like what?
Yeah.
And so 24/7 access to banking. And then the other thing that's really game changing is, everything we buy in the world today, whether it's, online or in the real world, has a hidden 2 to 3% tax from the credit card companies. Visa, MasterCard, Amex, they all charge this merchant fee. And that gets passed along to everyone as a consumer. Or if you're sending remittances, payments of Western Union, that's 6 to 10%, So there's these hidden taxes and fees, and the decrepit banking system kind of slows everything down to take 3 to 5 days to send things via wire transfers or overseas, and extracts these taxes on every single transaction. But with stablecoin payment rails, now things can settle in minutes versus hours or days. And the fees are like 0.5% to load the card, or 0.4% to convert the stablecoins. So for that, let's say that nurse in Argentina that is checking the prescriptions at the hospital, making sure the doctors aren't making any mistakes, she might get $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month working for an American company. She's only going to pay $4 a month in fees to have that spendable in US dollars in her wallet. So $1,000 a month, just a $4 fee for that conversion. That is really game changing, because imagine how much it would cost for Western Union to send $1,000 to Argentina.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're definitely right. But Luke, talk more about the Moonwell vaults. Talk about more about that. Because one thing about us, like, especially from like where I come from in our world, like, remember when you go to the bank and you go to Wells Fargo, they say, "Hey, sir, give me your money and I'm gonna get you 4%." And they're like, "You should be happy. And I look now when someone tells you 4%, I say, "Ha, I can make that in a week." But by just yielding and staking and being liquidity pools, right? So explain to us like the vaults and Moonwell. I think what you're doing is it's better than the bank.
Well, yeah, and that's what
and
I'm
I'll
saying.
just say it out loud. You don't have to say it, but I'll say it's better than the bank.
Facts.
Well, yeah, facts. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing, is like, it's not that we're replacing the banks with a new bank. We're just creating a new system with stablecoin payment rails that you won't really need a bank anymore. There's banks on the back end, partner banks, that are handling everything, but with the stablecoins settling in minutes versus, days or weeks or hours or whatever, you just won't necessarily need a bank in the traditional sense anymore. You won't have to go to the branch anymore. You won't have to call that 800 number. And so what powers all this behind the scenes? Like, that's the big question is, we're live on Coinbase's new network, Base, for just about 15 months now. Base launched in August of last year, and we were there on day one. I was an early Coinbase employee, and I'm really strongly aligned with their vision and mission. We really love what they're building on Base. And there's a partner protocol of our on Base called Morpho, and Morpho is really what powers the vaults. And so Morpho, just to put it in really simple terms, is they have isolated lending markets where you can, let's say you want to borrow against your Bitcoin. So you bring your Bitcoin from Coinbase, you supply it as collateral, and then you can borrow stablecoins against it. And so what these vaults do is they provide the borrowable USD coin against people coming from Coinbase that might want to borrow against their Bitcoin. So we really do have two categories of users. The first category, by far the most important, is that remote worker, the person living outside the US that just wants access to, dollars and wants to be able to work, have that paycheck to payments life cycle, right? But then there's another category of user that is more like me, who's an early Bitcoiner. That's like, I've been holding Bitcoin for years. I want to borrow against it so I don't have to pay taxes, so I can go shop in the real world. And I don't want to sell my coins, right? I believe that Bitcoin will be worth more in a few years from now than it is today. I mean, not financial advice, of course, but that's just a belief I have because Bitcoin is sound money. And so if I'm an early Bitcoiner or early to Ethereum, I want to borrow against it. I want to go shopping. I want to buy things in the real world. I want to turn my crypto wealth into real world tangible items, whether that's like, buying food for my family, just buying nice presents for the Christmas tree, or buying a Lambo or something like that. Like, why not? Why shouldn't I be able to buy a Lambo?
Lambo Luke.
But I don't want to sell my crypto coins, right? Like, personally, I'm not going to buy a Lambo, but I'm not going to sell my crypto coins because I want to hold on to them so I can borrow against it. And then those vaults that are created by these Morpho contracts that are really secure, they've been audited 13 times and they're formally verified. They have over 3 billion, actually I think it's 5 billion TVL on mainnet and Base combined. Those are really safe places for Moonwell users to kind of supply the borrowable side of that liquidity, and that's how you earn the yield. Because you should always ask yourself, where's the yield coming from when you're using a protocol like Morpho? The yield is coming from borrowers on Coinbase and other platforms that want to borrow against their Bitcoin or their Ethereum. And so we're providing, if you're in the vault, you're basically all you have to do is hold MWUSDC in your wallet. It's a yield-bearing coin. And then that's automatically earning the lending yield that is being provided by those people borrowing against their Bitcoin. And so it gives you this really nice experience where most of your wealth, let's say your savings account, if you will, can kind of be sitting there in your self-custodial wallet in MWUSDC. You don't have to transfer it to Coinbase. You don't have to, let somebody else take custody of your coins. That's really important that everyone is self-custodial. But it can also be earning a lending yield. And then as you shop we auto load your card from your vault so that you can always keep shopping.
Yeah, I'll add too. I like the fact that this is for the traders. If you want to go make a trade on something, again, you don't want to sell your Bitcoin or your ETH. You can borrow against it, go make that trade. If you do it right, you made a profit, and you can pay back your loan. So I know myself, I try to do things like that. And then people who are deep into crypto, that's what they like to do. So just keep the money circulating. And Moonwell is that platform that I use to do all that. So
yeah,
that's a third person of the traders out there.
Yeah, for people like you,
that's important.
Yeah, for people that are more advanced, this is not the person that just wants to work remote for a U.S. company, but this is someone like you that wants to get leverage for trading. Maybe you want to borrow against your Bitcoin and borrow more Bitcoin, or do some advanced strategies where you're being a liquidity provider on a DEX. Those people love using Moonwell because it gives them leverage. They can borrow against the coins they have, and you can execute some on-chain strategies. So really, we kind of think about two main categories of users. One is the early DeFi user like me that wants to borrow against their coins and either shop or, do some on-chain strategies. Like maybe you want to trade, maybe you want to short a coin even, right? You can do that by borrowing it and selling it, right? And then for the vast majority of our users, we want them to be able to just basically have these powerful financial tools that allow them to, kind of receive payments, get paid, direct deposit or wires, and then make payments and shop in the real world. And, we need to do more work on the off-ramps. We need more off-ramps besides just a Visa debit card. I think you can also off-ramp to the bank account if you want. But, that may not be as useful as being able to spend it in your local currency. So we need more off-ramps. I think we need other currencies. For example, we want to have a euro off-ramps for people in the Eurozone. Right now, it's all
That's
US
big.
dollars. Yeah.
That's big. See, you was talking about that. You gonna dive into that,
Yeah.
We're talking about, so we want to dive into it more.
Yeah,
right?
so the euro, from my understanding, right, it's the number 2 currency in the world pretty much. And I think, and I was looking at the yields on Moonwell, they're great. People are using it. But if you are living in Europe, which I know a lot of people on my crypto Twitter are actually in Europe, and so that's the preferred currency for them, and it's available. And I think just to having that liquidity to use USDC or Euro does add to it, and you got the top 2 currencies in the world, and it all makes sense. And like I told you the other day, I was like, when my mom says, "What do you do with this crypto?" I was like, now I can actually get something tangible.
Yeah.
I can go to the store with it now.
Yeah.
Like the game changed from when I told you about it a few years ago.
That's the real shit right there. Because I mean, like even like teammates of peers of mine, like they're like, okay, so you got this crypto. All right, you got this money that you can't really do. Like, what can you do with it? And now the fact I'm like, yeah, this meal you just ate, yeah, just pay with the crypto. And it's like a soft flex, And I was like, guys, we're going out to eat tonight. I said, on me. I said, thankful for this crypto, this yielding right here. And like, I think the fact that we're able to like really explain to like our family members and peers about like what we could do that's like everyday life charges and spend and like you said, paying bills, like yeah, you like these lights? Yeah. Thank you for my yield farm, right? It's like all that.
Spending your profits.
Yeah, exactly.
Too, that's what
we're not even
do.
dipping into the pot. We just off our yield, our profit. That's what we're using, and I think and then when people start hearing that, like, oh, you're just using your profit, and like even today when we was at Rush showing my teammate, I'm showing him what I'm getting from the yields and my profit. He's like, really? He's like, man, I gotta get into that because for us as athletes or just as humans in general, right? Like, you don't really ever see. It's not like the bank mails you every month and says, oh, this is how much I've made with your money yielding, like your passive income. Like, no, but like with this, you can actually see what your passive income is at the minute, the second, and you can pull out whenever you want. Like for me, like I'll be doing ranges, and when I know I'm about to get out of range, I'm like pulling out. Like, Luke, I'm reading our signal.
Right?
I'm in aerodrome. I'm in the trenches. I'm in the trenches, Luke. You know that. Yeah. I message Luke. Listen, I'll be messaging Luke at midnight. Like, Luke, you up? I got a little question. Like, like am I my well ETH pool? My BTC USDC pool. Like, I'm in the trenches, and
that's great.
You know what? It gives me an adrenaline. Like for me being an athlete, I enjoy doing it because it gives me like that competitive nature where like I got to stay in range. I got to be on TradingView, seeing where it's at, watching the charts. If it's going green candle, red candle, I'm like, okay, now I got to be locked in.
Yeah, so I love that. And, we talked about this before when we were on the X space, but, the thing is for a lot of people that are using crypto for the first time, maybe they're trading memes or they're trading like NFTs.
That's how I started with the memes.
Yeah, exactly.
Memes,
I know.
Yeah.
And like most of those memes, they're very speculative. It's like gambling, right? And it either like 100x's or it goes to 0. And it's like if it 100x's, you're doing great, but then if you don't get out fast enough, you go to 0 and you lose everything you have. And what I really love about DeFi and on-chain finance is that It's not like that, because when you're in a pool, obviously you're taking the risk of like the Bitcoin in that pool, right? Bitcoin could go up or down, but what you're doing is you're providing liquidity that other people can trade against. And so when people trade against your liquidity in that pool, you're earning fees. And so you're actually providing a valuable service. You're actually becoming an automated market maker, right? And you probably never thought you were going to become a market maker. Like that's some finance.
No, listen,
stuff,
it wasn't in the cards, but now it is, right?
But now you're a market maker.
Yeah, literally. So, and listen, I'll tell you guys this. I'll be waking up in the middle of the night, checking trade, okay, where I'm at, check my range. Like me and my friends, like we have a chat, and we're literally, even with Luke, like we're on Signal, like or Telegram, like a couple times a day, or I'm like checking it. I'm like, all right, Luke, so the swap fee is about, like 150. You think that's kind of high? And Luke's like, it's not too bad, And then Luke, you push numbers in for me. We use ChatGPT, and we're like, all right, so you'll make this back probably in like 6 hours. So
ChatGPT is my quant.
Yeah, right. Literally, it's a mathematician. So, and CEO, you probably even know, like we're in the trenches, and I think for me, it was we had a conversation. Like it's for me, I think it's good for our audience to know, like it's important for me to be on the ground and be like I say, like the working ant, right? Like, because I think that's the only way I feel like I can help pay it forward to others, right? Like if I'm just sitting up in the office and I'm not on the field, like how can I give you advice or how can I give you the tools if I don't even believe in it or bump my head, right? Like I started, the way I got into this was doing Radium with Sol USDC, yielding that, right? And I think with me learning those tools and, getting out of range and learning impermanent loss and then getting pushed in, like learning all that stuff helped me to where I get to AirDrone now and I'm having a bigger stack and I'm trying to build bigger profits because I went through those tools and kind of like bump heads or go through it. It's helped me get to where I'm at now,
Yeah.
And I think what's important too, what you said, being a market maker, there's no limit to how much money you can put in and out. So someone with a small account to the large accounts can become that market maker. And then when that volume, like it is right now, especially in the bull market, is going up, you can get some of those fees rather than all the corporations in the middle, like Venmo and them taking all the fees,
Yeah. Cut the middleman out.
Yeah, you
exactly.
become part of the group of middlemen.
Yeah,
exactly. It's kind of liberating because, rather than just simply swapping against a pool and you're paying the fee to swap, like what if you put your coins in the pool and then other people pay you to swap, right? It's like kind of turns the tables a little bit. Now you're making the money. And then also it's, regardless of like the coins can go up and down, like Bitcoin goes up and down. It's very volatile. Like crypto is volatile, right? Let's admit it. But on a long-term time horizon, I think 4 to 5 years time horizon, Bitcoin is probably worth more than it is today, right? And it's worth more than it was 4 years ago, and it was worth more than it was 8 years ago. So as long as you're going to be like holding Bitcoin, why not just be like in those pools, making some fees and earning something for it, And this was honestly like a crash course for me and a lot of early Coinbase people in 2020 DeFi summer. We were actually in those pools during COVID. We were all locked down at home. Some people were trading meme stocks on Robinhood. We were trading crypto and using DeFi apps for the first time. And for me personally, I didn't know a lot about markets back then, 5 years ago or whatever. But I learned, it was like a crash course for me. You learn about it. You learn like as much in just a year of using these apps as you would if you were like 10 years in Goldman Sachs, like trading stocks or something.
I mean, listen, there's a lot of people from Goldman Sachs. They left that space and came into the Web3. Like I've had calls and Zoom calls, and they're like, yeah, well, I started in Wall Street and now I'm Web3. Well, that's telling you something, right? Like if people from that world, the suit and ties in New York, if they're coming into this space now, it shows you that something's brewing. And I think the way I compare it is like, it's like Tesla before Tesla became Tesla, right? Like it's the liquid gold before you know what it is, right? So like you got to get on the gold rush before it happens, Like, and that's how I view it, and that's how I kind of explain it to the everyday retail and normies, Like that's how I explain to them what this is and what's this brewing, because it's cooking up. It's either you're gonna come join the kitchen or not. Yeah. You want to join before the meal's ready. When the meal's ready, you only get the scraps. I want to be in there early. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, you're getting really deep in the weeds on. I know you're going hard on the DEX automated market making and also on the lending side. That's great, but also we got to admit that like 90% of the people out there, and this is why Moonwell was created, don't understand all these complex terms, and so we're trying to make it as simple as possible. Really, if you think about it, it's a peer-to-peer system, smart contracts. Nobody's taking custody of your coins. You're either supplying a coin to a contract and then you're borrowing something else, or someone else is supplying and you're borrowing their coins. And so it really, at its heart, we tried to make it really simple in the front end app, make it really easy to use on your mobile phone, make it so you don't have to download a wallet or an extension to get started. You don't have to back up a seed phrase. You don't have to pay for gas and things like that. We've just tried to smooth off all the rough edges to help onboard people to just do more with their crypto, do more with what you already have, whether it's just, I have my coins and I want to lend them out and earn something, or I want to borrow against my coins and shop in the real world, or maybe I just want to, get paid by a US company and just have yield bearing stable coins in my wallet. And so we try to kind of like meet users where they are and make it just a super easy to use experience. So our goal is really something like, your mom or a good friend could use without you having to explain it to them, right? Mm-hmm. If we can meet that goal, and I think we're getting really close, we're about 99% of the way there. There's still more work to do, right? Mm-hmm. Still day one though.
Yeah. So what's next? What's next? Like, I know you have the vision board, right? And I know you didn't get this far without having a vision and idea of like, all right, this is what I'm trying to do. Like, so what is for 2025? Like, what are you thinking? Like, what is next for Moonwell?
It's a great question. So we're going to have the US bank accounts launching in early 2025. And then we really want to figure out, how do we bring this to the rest of the world? How do we get the message out? Because, we're still a relatively small app with a few 100,000 users, but really our goal is to kind of first bring this to all of the 8 to 10 million monthly transacting users on Coinbase, just make sure they're aware of it. But then even more importantly, the vision of Base is to bring 1 billion users on chain and 1 million developers. And so we're really working together with lots of cool projects. For example, there's a few new projects up and coming. Like there's a protocol called Talent Protocol on Base I'm really bullish about. Mm-hmm. I met the team. Some of them are actually in Argentina, and they love the card because it allows them to shop with stablecoins. They've been buying coffee and stuff in Argentina. But they have this concept of a builder score. And the whole idea is like a LinkedIn reputation network, but it's on chain. So, the more work you do on chain, let's say somebody gets a job on chain, they build a reputation for themselves for contributing work to different projects. And then you can kind of see what somebody's reputation is on chain. And so they're working on a way to offer uncollateralized loans to people. Mm-hmm. Because right now you have to kind of have some collateral like Bitcoin before you can actually, use before you can actually borrow, right? Mm-hmm. But they're working on a way to give uncollateralized loans to people that might want just to borrow to like start a small business or go to school or something, based on their builder score, their reputation. So there's some really cool things like that happening. And we're just going to try to, get the word out, basically, get the US bank accounts out there and just get everyone in the world that wants to work for a US company set up with a US bank account and a Visa debit card so they can actually, go from paycheck to payments. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I think what you're doing is something that the world needs and the space needs. And I think you understand, you see, and I think it's because of your upbringing, where you've come from. And I think that hunger and desire to basically see the big picture in terms of, again, the retail and masses, like that's what we all want. Right. And I think the ones, and the thing, what I love about Moon was that you make it very simple and easy. And that's how, like, people's attention span, first of all, people don't like big words because then they don't feel like they're smart enough. And if you don't feel like you're smart, then you're not going to mess around with it. And I think what you doing, simplifying everything, is what's going to make Moonwell different from the rest, right? And I think that's what drew me so much to what you have going on into the companies, because you guys understand the big picture. And I think CEO agrees, like that's what the space needs. And that's how we combine both worlds together. And that's the main goal of Courtside Crypto, is to take two worlds and bring them into one, right? And because that's where it's going.
Yeah.
Definitely. I agree. Well said. Making it simple, accessible, and then to the masses. That's the whole point.
Yeah, I love what you guys are building at Courtside Crypto. I think it's going to be a really awesome media brand because, you're actually...
Shout out to Courtside.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's OG right there, man. Yeah, look at the shout out.
And you're kind of connecting the worlds of sports and crypto, which is really exciting because, like, there's so many people in sports that are into crypto, and there's so many people in crypto that are into sports. And I think it's just like educating your fans, your followers, and trying to educate them on the more wholesome side of crypto and not like all the rugs and the scams.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of scams out there, right? Let's face it.
Guys, listen, if you guys are on Instagram and social media and someone says, hey, give me $1,000 and I'll show you how to make your crypto 10x, don't mess with those guys. Those guys are all scams. I don't care. I put my face on. All those guys are scams. They're not getting none of my money, none of my friends' money. Listen, I'll tell you one thing. If someone is 10xing, they really don't want to give you the juice because they're not going to make 10x. They're only going to make 5 or 4x. So always understand that.
Facts, yeah. If some guy is asking you to be in a paid group and he's like, give me money, I'll give you into a paid group and I'll tell you what coins to buy. Well, if he knows what coins to buy, why doesn't he just do it himself? Why does he have to get money from you? He should already be rich, right?
Facts, yeah. And I'll add just, the whole theme in crypto is do your own research and start small and then grow your way to big. And then that way you put yourself in more of a safety position.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Start small and build your stack up.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach because the thing about, especially operating on a low fee network like Base, it doesn't matter if you have $10, $100, $100,000 to your name. You know, I mean, you might have more than some people, but you can start with $100. You can start with $10. You can just experiment and use these apps. And if you can grow $10 into 20 over a few months, then you can grow, you know, 1,000 into 2,000 or 100,000 into 200,000. And so it works well, big or small. It doesn't matter how much you have. In fact, it's actually easier if it's small because when you start throwing around size, you start moving the market and stuff. But it's a great way to kind of experiment. And that's what I tell people to do. It's like when you're just experimenting with things, just start small. Start with $5 or $10, like something you wouldn't be sad if you lost it, right? And then the worst thing that can happen is, you know, you lost money to buy a coffee or something, and you'll learn something along the way, right?
Yeah. Sometimes you got to bump your heads to learn, but like you said, start small. We're not getting financial. We're getting the tools to help put yourself in position to succeed. But like we said, we don't use your whole tuition grant. Yeah. Don't use the life savings. Do not use your pension fund. So let's start small and build the stack up. Build brick by brick.
I mean, that's what I did, honestly. Like when I first started experimenting with this stuff in DeFi Summer, like I had, you know, been saving money for a down payment for a house, you know, for years. You know how it is, you know, growing up like as a millennial or whatever. You have to kind of save for years. Well, maybe not you because you became a baller.
I'm good now.
But you got to save up for years just to put a down payment on a house. You know, it's hard to even afford these days for most people. But I was like, let me just take a few $1,000s of this down payment money I've been saving. Let me move it into USDC and see what I can do with it. And then I saw what I was getting like 20% or something on it. And I was like, okay, let me move a little bit more. And of course I had to, you know, send it in from my bank to Coinbase. It was like a really painful experience, but you know, it's a lot easier now with Moonwell and other tools, right? And Base. And, but you know, you just start small and get comfortable with it. You'll learn the tools, you learn the way. And, you know, I love that you guys are building this Courtside crypto because I think that's the approach I would encourage people to take is like, just start small with what you're comfortable with, learn a few things, and then, you know, just go from there. You don't have to do it all on day one, right?
Yeah, no, totally. What I always tell people is like, my goal is how can I get the guy that works at the arena, instead of going to H&R Blocker Fidelity with his biweekly check, let's say he takes maybe $100, $200, $250 and goes to Fidelity. Instead of doing that, go open a wallet. Open a Moonwell account, put your money in the ball and let it make passive income, right? I think from there, when you get comfortable, then you start growing, and that's the DNA of this podcast, it's the DNA of this show, and basically DNA of me, where I feel like I want to give people tools so I can pay it forward, right? And I think that's something that this world needs more people like that to help others, because I feel like when I grow, I want to see other people grow with me. You know, like I always say, I don't want to be the only king at the table. I want to be at the table with 12 kings. So you know, that's my mentality.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, I love that about you.
Yeah.
Got to know you guys over the last few months, just kind of yielding together, right?
I might be a pain in the ass. I'd be messaging you all. I'm like, yo, Luke, I'm sorry for bothering you, but I had this question. I'm like, but I appreciate it, and you know what Moonwell's doing is amazing. Luke, I appreciate what you're doing and giving me you're like my Jedi master, giving me some tools and tips. So I really appreciate it. See what you're doing in the space. You know, you're OG in the space, and it's definitely great to see, you know, the people like us, you know, minorities in the space, because, you know, when you go to these places, like when I went to Tokyo, you don't see a lot of people like us walking around. And I think from upbringing and where we're from, and, you know, you're from, you know, from the Riverside area, then you spend your family in Portland, like you understand how this is in our community. It's tough, and not saying where you came from, just saying for minorities, like we're never given the free game. We're always given the game unless we make it. If we don't make it, we only have a few other options, and they're not options that have great outcome, right? So for us, it's like, why not we take it by the bull by the horn, and like, let's help our communities, right? Let's give these young kids, these kids in high school and college, the tools just give them a chance to be successful. It doesn't always guarantee it, but it's our job as men to give the young generation the tools to give them a chance to succeed. And that's what we're all about, especially being a father. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, we have to acknowledge there's like great wealth disparity in our country, right? Especially along racial lines, and it's along different, like, you know, minority groups, right? And so it's actually like, you know, decades ago you couldn't even get a bank account, right? And so like we're starting from that baseline, but I feel like these tools actually give people, like, you know, basically they give people the ability to have financial services no matter where they live, what their background is. And that's what's really inspiring to me, because, like, I mean, I grew up in a poor family too, but like at least I had the advantages given to me. Like, you know, my parents saved up enough money and got me a computer at a young age. You know, I was really fortunate about that. But like, a lot of people may not even have that advantage given to them, right? And so, and then just, you know, if your family never saved money, you know, that's another like struggle you have to go through. just giving people the tools to kind of better themselves in their future is really inspiring to me. And so I think that's also what Coinbase's mission is. You know, this increasing economic freedom in the world just means like everyone should have the freedom to transact, right? Like, and 50 years ago, like you might not have had that freedom to transact if you grew up in the wrong neighborhood or the wrong side of town or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, definitely. And that's true. And we're trying to build a better tomorrow. That's the name of the game, right? So
that's it.
I mean, listen, this has been a great episode. You know, I'm very appreciative, fortunate for both of you guys. You know, to be able to sit down. You know, you guys are the OGs, and what we're trying to build here is get to that level, right? And I think we take it one day at a time, one episode at a time, one spaces at a time. So, you know, gentlemen, appreciate having any closing remarks. Anything you guys want to say?
I'll say thank both of y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Keep up the great work. And then, just make sure y'all check out Passive Income Network.
There you go.
Yeah. Great interviews. Got to get you on there sometime.
100%. I'm going to be on there. I'm going to come on for sure.
Definitely. So, and just like, again, my message is always just get educated, start small, and then grow big. So,
yeah, I love Passive Income Network. Thank you for featuring us on your show, too. And thank you for featuring Moonwell as well. It's been great, you know, getting to know you and your crew a little bit. And, you know, I'm really excited about the brand you're building, the media brand. And like, I think it's going to be really successful. And I wish you all the success in the world.
No, appreciate it. Guys, you have it here. We on the couch. We vibing out. Tristan Thompson here. Luke Youngblood. And my main man, C-Will, man. We're here, Courtside Crypto, and we're out. Peace.
Thank you.
Dear Elmara, this place is yours now. It's a handful, but nothing worth doing is easy. The land is more than just dirt. Nurture it, and it will yield returns for generations. You're a smart one. I know you'll be okay, come rain or shine. And remember, every venture is only as good as its community, so become a part of it. Our job is to plant seeds early, so future generations can reap the rewards. Use Moonwell, Elmara, and keep planting those seeds, because how we supply today builds our tomorrow.